There we go. Now, red. See how far. 4 basic principles. Now, let's see. Chapter 2 of The Gentle Art of Verbal Self-Defense by Suzette, Haden, Elgin. Chapter 2, the 5 Satir modes. That's Satir. Okay. In order to learn any new skill, you need a set of words, a vocabulary for discussing that skill. In verbal self-defense, we're fortunate. Much of the vocabulary has already been provided in different contexts and can now be adapted to our use. Virginia Satir was one of the foremost therapists in the United States, famous all over the world for her work and family. Notice I emphasized her. Okay. In family therapy and other types of therapy. I'm going to stop there. When I was a teenager, that was going on. Okay. In her book, she developed a set of terms for common language behavior patterns that she observed repeatedly in people who were trying to communicate when they were tense and anxious and distressed. I've experienced that. So you're dealing with someone who is tense, anxious, and stressed. So you need to figure out what their triggers are. All right. Now, the good person is trying to teach them how to use that in a positive way. The manipulation aspect of a person who would use that as a weapon. This is me talking. To be aware of it. The majority of people are not like that. Certain people learned bad habits. So that's what they do. There are 5 such patterns in her system. We call them the Satir modes. This book is not about therapy, but the terms are just what we need to serve as an essential part of our working vocabulary. They are, here we go, blamer mode. Blamers feel that nobody cares about them. I can relate to that. That there is no respect or affection for them. Wow. And that people are indifferent to their needs and feelings. I'll give you an example of a statement. They don't care. I don't care. That type of shit. Blamers react to this with language, behavior patterns intended to demonstrate to others that the blamers are in charge and the ones with power. They do this because they're convinced that unless they throw their weight around, no one will cooperate with them or give them any attention. Typical blamer speech, either very loud or hissed between clenched teeth, can be, "You'll never consider my feelings, and I'm not going to put up with that." All right. Well, that is, drawing a boundary, but she's making another point. Okay. Another example. "Nobody around here ever pays any attention to me. Why is that?" Whoa. "Why do you always put yourself ahead of everybody else?" Whoa. "Why don't you ever think about what I might want? I've had all of this I'm going to take." Whoa. "Why do you always insist on having your own way, no matter how much it hurts other people?" What's the matter with you? Whoa. When two blamers talk to each other, the language interaction is a broad and rapid road to a shouting match or an open exchange of insults and sarcasm. Nasty in every way. And the body language that goes with it is just as angry and hostile as the words that are spoken. All right, next one. Placater mode. Placaters are frightened that other people will get angry with them, go away, and never have anything to do with them again. Placaters don't care, don't dare, to admit this. However, typical placater speech is, oh, you know me, I don't care. Whatever anybody else wants to do is fine with me. But they don't say what they want. That's me interluding. Whatever you say, dear, I don't mind. And then she's going along with it, even though she doesn't want to and she doesn't enjoy it, but she won't tell him. Tell him, I don't like this. This isn't fun. Okay, just do it. Oh, nothing bothers me. Do whatever you like. What do I want to do? Oh, I don't know. What would you like to do? So you're constantly, that person gave away their power of decision in the situation. Few conversations are as dead-end and hopeless as two placaters trying to reach a decision with a dialogue like this one. Where should we go for dinner? I don't know. Where would you like to go? Oh, God, no one's making a choice. Oh, you pick. You know me. I don't care where we go. No, really, you decide. Constantly giving away power of decision. Notice that. But it doesn't matter to me at all. It doesn't matter to me either. You know that. Oh, my God. Seriously, I'd much, much rather you decide. And so on and on. Oh, God. Whenever you hear anyone referred to as good old so-and-so, there is at least 50 chance that the good old so-and-so is a placater. As with blaming, the body language will match the words spoken. All right. Computer mode. Computers have one or more emotions. Sociopath, you know what I mean? They don't feel bad when they hurt people. Okay. Computers have one or more emotions that they are not willing to share or unwilling to admit they're feeling. Often they will try to create an impression that they feel no emotions at all, except for the troublesome human side of him that made him so interesting. Star Trek's Mr. Spock, I might add Data, was an excellent example of a computer. Computers talk like this. There is undoubtedly a simple solution to the problem. That's dealing with a fully left-brained male or, woman, but more often than not, a man. So it's like, what's her issue? She's irrational. Yeah, and you're shut off emotionally, so wakey. It's obvious that no real difficulty exists here. No rational person would be alarmed by this incident. So what's happening? They're disregarding your feelings and emotions. Clearly the advantages of this activity have been overstated. I'm unaffected. That type of shit. That's me interjecting. Preferences of the kind you describe are rather common in this area. Computers work hard at never putting I in front of any opinion, unless they qualify it heavily, as in, I suppose it is at least possible that, and as is true with all the Satir modes, their body language matches their words. They limit their facial expressions and gestures and body position, and their intonation. The tune their words are set to is kept carefully neutral. Fence sitter, as my dad would say, choose a side or both sides shoot at you. That's what he said. Distractor mode. Oh shit, here we go. 3 card money on the spread. 3 cups and a pea. Anyway, distractor mode. Distractors are tricky to keep up with because they don't hold to any of the previous patterns. They don't require you to learn anything new. They copy your patterns and then they mask them like a doppelganger, in my opinion, because that's all they know. There's no heart. It's just deception. What they do is cycle rapidly among the other patterns, shifting from one Satir mode to another. The underlying feeling of the distractor is panic. So what do they want to create in you? Fear and panic. Then they get control, right? That's what the distraction is for. I don't know what on earth to say, but I've got to say something, and the quicker the better. Their surface behavior, verbal and nonverbal, will be a chaotic mix. Now, let's stop for a second. Think about that in terms of presenters, all right? Are they presenting love or fear? Get you all riled up. That's a distraction. Get you to focus on them. Give them your energy. See, I'm not like that. I'm direct. I know. It's a hard way to live, but it's better. Leveler mode. Levelers are the most contradictory type of all, either the easiest or the most difficult to handle, depending on the situation. Levelers do just what the Dr. Satir's term implies. They level with you. What the leveler says is what the leveler feels. Sometimes that's safe and appropriate. Sometimes it's not. So they want you to go along with them because they're the level being set, right? Suppose we had 5 terrified people trapped in an elevator that was stuck between floors, one from each of the Satir modes. Oh, shit, this is going to be interesting. Their remarks as the elevator hung there would go something like this. Placater. Oh, I hope I didn't do anything to cause this. I sure didn't mean to. Blamer. Which one of you idiots are fooling around with the buttons? Computer. There is undoubtedly some perfectly simple reason why this elevator isn't moving. Certainly, there is no cause for alarm. Distractor. Did one of you hit the stop button? Oh, I didn't mean that. Of course, none of you would do anything like that. It is, however, extremely easy to do that sort of thing by accident. Why do things like this always happen to me? Leveler. Personally, I'm scared. And that does what? Gets everybody stuck in what? Fear. Oh. You will notice one thing about the descriptions of these language behavior patterns. In every one of them except leveler modes, there's a clash between the inner feelings and the outer behavior. When someone is locked into one of these modes and can't communicate effectively in any other way, he or she may be in emotional difficulty that interferes with clear communication. Again, except for the leveler. Levelers have no trouble communicating their feelings. Although most people have a Satir mode they prefer when communicating under stress. They're not restricted to that mode. They can choose either deliberately or unconsciously to use any one of the modes at will. When the choice is made deliberately, the classic mismatch between inner feelings and outer behavior may not exist. A person may decide to use computer mode because he or she is in a committee meeting and perceives that as an appropriate choice. Doesn't necessarily mean that the person is trying to conceal some emotions. A parent who feels perfectly secure in a position of control over a child may choose blamer mode deliberately as a way of disciplining that child. People who are absolutely determined to start a fight know that choosing blamer or placater mode is their best strategy. People whose primary communication goal is to eliminate hostile language from the environment know that it's far better to choose computer or leveler mode. In this book, we won't be concerned with situations where individuals literally aren't able to choose which Satir mode they will use. Those situations are properly left to the expert therapist. We can, however, adapt the category names to the art of verbal self-defense. Like the sword, the gun, the stick, and the hat pin, the Satir modes are weapons for verbal conflict and mechanisms for heading off such conflict. You need to learn to recognize them when they're coming at you, to choose among them for your response, and to use the ones you choose with confidence and skill. It's important to remember that a leveler may not be attacking you and may have no hostile intentions, even when there are surface indicators that might mislead you. That's where intention and intuition come in. If you have good intention, more than likely, and you hold that good heart, right, you're going to sense it. If you are in chaos and distracted, most likely you won't. You'll be further misled. That's me saying that. Okay, back to the book. Leveler. You know you drive me crazy tapping your ballpoint pen on the desk like that. It really bothers me. No, being honest like that, if someone is doing something annoying, it's not bad. This is not an attack. It's a simple statement of fact and an invitation for an equally leveling response. For example, you. I know what you mean. It would drive me crazy too. What's even worse is somebody who whistles under their breath all the time. Leveler, you're right. That's even worse. Just as soon you didn't do either one. You. I'll try, okay? Leveler, fair enough. That's not fighting. It's negotiation. It's very easy to turn it into a fight. True? One of the ironies of verbal interaction is that so many people mistake the statements of a leveler for verbal violence. So what happens? You are creating conflict unnecessarily, and then you're distracted. Got it? My opinion. Okay? Oh, there we go again. One of the ironies of verbal interaction is that so many people, here we go again, mistake the statements, I'm repeating this for a reason, of a leveler for verbal violence and never suspect that the nice guy or nice lady down the hall is the one who's really giving them a hard time. It's also important to remember that when we refer to someone with one of the Satir mode labels, we're only using shorthand. For example, calling someone a blamer isn't like calling the person a Norwegian or a carpenter or a bully. Interesting. It's just a brief and convenient way to say someone who, while communicating in a tense or confrontational situation, is using blamer mode. And then that goes back and forth, right? Accelerates. So let's see. Defuse, evade, last option, attack. That's martial arts principle right there. So I don't want a problem, right? They're coming, you evade, back up, get away from them, And the last option is when they come to try to hurt you, that you defend yourself. But you always have those three options at any time to choose. The Satir mode labels aren't labels for personality types. I also might add, as she said, you can avoid violence and confrontation by thinking before you do. Keep the Satir modes in mind as we go along. They are your basic inventory of stances for verbal self-defense. Learn to spot them when they're coming at you. Learn to choose among them consciously and deliberately as a communication strategy in an emergency. When you have no time to think, I've been in those situations, first responder, especially when I've found my father, or when you haven't had, no longer living, I might add, love my dad, but it is what it is. Haven't had sufficient training or practice to be sure what your best choice would be, your safest guess. Stance is always computer mode because it is the most neutral of the 5 modes. Assume that stance. So that means you're looking at the base logic of what is, okay? And maintain it until you have a good reason to change. Here's a summary of the characteristics of computer mode, computers. So that might help you in what situation? With someone who is attempting to use emotion to manipulate, right? To override logic, because that's what they do, huh? You can't afford that CD, but ooh, they moved you, right? So you'll give up eating to have, whatever it is, cigarettes, the CD, whatever the distraction is. But you need to think, is this logical? What are my base elements? What do I need versus what I want? Never appear to be angry or emotional or hurried or upset. Always look calm and relaxed, right? They see you get all freaked out. They go, oh, good. Yeah. She's off balance. Keep pushing her or him. Try never to talk in the first person, singular. I, me, my, mine, myself, without adding on an array of modifying sequences. Do their best always to talk in abstractions and generalities. That way they avoid conflict. You see that? It's not personal. I'm a professional. That type of shit. Say it's blank line, that X, for example, it's obvious that there is no cause for alarm. Usually take a single physical position early in the conversation, right? Body language. And maintain it with little change from then on. Rarely use emphatic stress on words or parts of words. Almost never openly commit themselves to anything. If you don't know what to do when you're under verbal attack, the rule is always switch to computer mode and stay there. There is no safer stance. That means logic. What they're saying is illogical. Then why would you listen? Got it? One more term. I want to end this chapter by introducing just one more term that we will find useful. When we talk to people, the things we say come in a variety of different shapes and sizes. We may say a whole sentence. We may say only a part of a sentence. We may say only one word. It's like an archetype, right? Multiple meanings. We may say several sentences in a row. That's how you know a wise person. Grandpa says one word and you know what he meant, like a whole novel. We don't feel obligated, or grandmother for that matter, to follow the rules of written language when we're talking to one another. Oral tradition. We therefore need a word that can serve as a name for any sequence of language that takes up a single turn in a conversation or other language interaction. The term I will be using for the purpose in this book is the word utterance. Hello is an utterance. Oh, blast is an utterance. I wonder is an utterance. Are you leaving now is an utterance. If you're leaving now is an utterance. I need a ride home. Are you leaving now is an utterance. And when someone grabs a conventional floor and goes on and on and on and on without giving anyone else a chance to say anything at all, that too is an utterance or a rant. Okay, so chapter 3 will be next video, and that is the verbal attacks octagon. And as I've learned with reading, to take a break. That way I don't get burned out. Start sounding like this. Right? That's how I feel. Anyway. So, why am I reading this? You know, before I started blocking ratings on my videos, I was getting trolls, 3 to 5 people coming here down-rating my videos for no reason. That's a form of psychological warfare in a way. I don't go around disliking people's videos. If I don't like you, I don't go there. I just don't mention shit. Nothing. Why should I? But I might add, my mom went to school back in the 90s for communications, small groups, emphasis. And what they told me when I was 15 is I had a college level comprehension of psychology and a college reading level as a teenager. Not showing off, that's reality. But, you know, it is what it is. I had so much chaos. A PhD was my mindset, but due to divorce, depression, whatever, a second marriage, right in the middle of my high school, second divorce, that disrupted me to the point where I did not give a shit. I said, turn your back on Mormonism. This was all as a teenager. I went goth, didn't dye my hair to the middle of my back. Here, you would get discriminated against for long hair. Oh, you don't think so? Back in the 90s. Oh, yeah. It's different now. You can get a job with tattoos and all that shit. Back in my day, no. Very conservative. Short haircut, no earrings, no tattoos. So a woman could have earrings at work, but I have 3 piercings, right? But I couldn't wear my earrings. Discrimination, ladies. You guys get to do whatever the hell you want. No, not for us back in the 90s. Men were expected a certain pattern. If you didn't have it, you did not get a job. Reality. You go, really? Really? Welcome to Utah. And because of the dominant culture here, there is a very strong counterculture or pagan culture in Utah. Liberty Park, right? Not just there. It's all the people just like me that didn't get a choice. I didn't get a choice. Mormonism was forced on me when I was young, or my parents chose. Don't hate my mom, my dad for that, but I don't want it. I told them, direct. I love you. I do not like your religion, but I love people. See, I'm not going to stop loving my mom because she wants to do whatever, or my dad, or whoever. I'm going to see who they are. And if they have good virtue, then that's all right. Mainly, I am folk culture. And that's where I live 24/7 all the time. And that's only gotten stronger as I've gotten older. At the time, when I was young, I did not realize, the coffee house culture of playing guitar, open mic, jamming with friends, right? It was all old school. That's how it used to be. So if you were underage, you could go jam at a coffee house versus a bar, even though some younger people snuck in and played in bars. I've heard stories. Not me. I have never played in a bar. I've never played for money. Only because I felt something. And that goes back to childhood, saying, you know what? I'm going to claim something for myself and choose my own path. Put on my witch's boots. Because a witch could be a man or a woman and has nothing to do with Wicca. It has to do with wisdom wisdom keepers. And that can be a man or a woman. Same with druids. I'm not talking about modern anything. Ancient, root, back to the source. That's it. No deception, no bullshit. 100% pure or nothing. And that is how I feel. Too much deception. Too much being led around in circles. Listen here. It takes time. You got all that chaos, you're going to be distracted and misled very easily. So, hold the place clearly now. Communication said, grandmother, grandfather, shining wheel. Fire in my head. In a chamber, in a chamber, heart and soul. Nothing at all, said. Folk soul, folk soul forevermore. Circle around, oh. Sacred is the name. Grandmother, oh. Goddess is a name. And ancient is down, oh. See to root down, oh. cleanse my folk soul. Grandmother, grandfather, be heart's pain, treat them well. I sing for the soul, and I sing for my folk and my people I know. Heart and soul to say, you're true always. You're my family, and I love you forever. You choose me, you throw me away. You could choose white, walk away. Let me left wisdom on the dusty shelf, gathering roses. That's them. Wisdom is fresh as the morning rain. Wisdom is fresh as the pouring rain. I'm sitting in the pouring rain. Hoping someone to see in the wall of the blindfold. Your soul is blind, say. Open your eyes to see. Clearly now. And waiting down by the shoreline, at the tide roll. So as I captain Lord, I captainize. Oh, circle round, oh. That's what they say. Thank you. Circle round, I shall return. Chapter 3. Say no to trolls, baby. He said, I turn the trolls to stone. That's right. When the sun comes up and the folk light shines down, turn the trolls to stone. Like a burning flame, he said. Hot